If it happens, Bud Crawford, oh, absolutely. We'll be there, Stephen A. We'll see Bud Crawford and Canelo. And I want to see that fight. But I would rather see him fight Benavidez. I agree with you.
Landing punches, like just the whole stat. Crawford is leading. And so I do think that it's a tough fight, but I will lean more towards Crawford simply of his, skill set.
That power ain't gonna be able to sustain throughout the fight.
Shannon Sharpe didn't hold back as he issued a clear warning to Canelo Alvarez about the dangers of facing Terence Crawford. Speaking live on air, Sharpe pointed out that while Crawford has been fighting at 147 pounds, he has regularly sparred with much bigger opponents and managed them effectively. He emphasized that Crawford moving up in weight only makes him more dangerous, not less. Sharpe's message was direct: if Canelo underestimates Crawford, it could turn into a serious mistake.
Fighters, they're not going to give me my due because I'm going to have 3 or 4 losses. And that's what's happening. Guys won't fight anybody that the fans want to see, or a fighter that's deserving. You're absolutely right. David Benavidez deserved the fight Canelo, but Canelo doesn't want to fight him because he knows there's a greater chance of him losing versus Benavidez versus Bigger Charlo. And so that's what. Now, am I going to go see the if it happens, Bud Crawford? Oh, absolutely. We'll be there, Stephen A. We'll see Bud Crawford and Canelo. And I want to see that fight. But I would rather see him fight Benavidez.
Daniel Jacobs gave a thoughtful breakdown of both fighters before revealing where his confidence lies. He credited Canelo Alvarez for his power, toughness, and experience, but highlighted that Terence Crawford brings a far more advanced skill set into the ring. Jacobs explained that Crawford's adaptability allows him to switch styles mid-fight, which throws opponents off balance and neutralizes their biggest strengths. With razor-sharp reflexes and high ring IQ, Jacobs believes Crawford could present Canelo with problems he has never faced. While Canelo has proven his toughness against heavy hitters like Gennady Golovkin, Jacobs stressed that Crawford's speed, precision, and tactical brilliance represent a completely different type of challenge. For that reason, Jacobs is confident Crawford's superior skills give him the edge.
For instance, when he fought the guy that he lost to just recently.
Bivol,
yeah. Shout out to Bivol. He wasn't really able to find that niche there, but in spurts you can see him adapting, right? And so the biggest difference between Bivol and Crawford is the size difference in the power. Even though Bivol was an ultimate boxer, he still was able to keep him off him with the sheer power and strength. But with Crawford, I think that it'll be challenging for Canelo to get around the skill set, but it wouldn't be challenging for him to be able to endure the pain. And so that's what Canelo, because the mindset too is, if you can't hurt me, no matter what you do, I'm going to keep coming forward. Yeah. So if Canelo could adapt that mindset, take the shots, because he's going to be throwing, and if you look at the stats too, in terms of punch output, in terms of landing punches, like just the whole stat, Crawford is leading. And so I do think that it's a tough fight, but I will lean more towards Crawford simply of his, skill set.
Is this the biggest fight for his legacy? If obviously he wins, I think.
Crawford.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it would be the biggest win. Sure. But given the fact that a lot of people, I think, expect Canelo to win because of the weight, where do you rank this in comparison to that huge fight with Errol Spence?
So if Canelo wins, it would be one of his most top tier wins. But it would also be expected. So I don't know if it would take the umph off of it, rather the other way around, because of the size difference and what all Canelo has been accomplishing for the last.
Oladipo described Crawford as a rare fighter with a unique quality that separates him from the rest. Unlike many who rely solely on raw power, Crawford can inflict damage through precision and timing, landing punches opponents never see coming. This, Oladipo argues, makes his shots even more dangerous than they appear. He believes Alvarez, while durable, can be outmaneuvered by disciplined fighters who avoid being dragged into slugfests. Crawford's patience and ability to wait for the right moment to strike make him exceptionally effective. For Oladipo, this mix of intelligence and accuracy is why he has long favored Crawford in a matchup against Canelo.
He's done what no one's ever done before. 2-time undisputed world champion. So why not just enjoy? But obviously you want to go for that next challenge. Now for him, he wants to go for that Canelo, I would advise him not to go for that. But if he's the man and he knows how good he is himself. So I can't really say to him that do this or do that. So really,
he believes in his skills. He feels
he believes in his skill. We can't answer for him. We let him go and do it. You know what I'm saying? And we all might be wrong. He might be even stronger than Canelo. He might pack the weight on well that he might do really well in there. So look, regardless,
You fought them both. Like, what are the differences between them? Obviously, it's way.
Canelo's strong and he's easily hit. Very easily hit, very easily. Compared to when I fought against Crawford, I couldn't even hit clean. So really, that's the difference. And they both hit hard. Because and you can see the strength. You know, when I was fighting against Crawford, I didn't think Crawford was that strong, but when he kind of moved me around a little bit, he is very strong as well. So look, yeah, but why does he need to give that much weight? He's pound for pound #1 in the world. Why does he have to go up and fight Canelo?
I don't
Prove anything?
Canelo would say payday, but Crawford wants to be 3-time undisputed, and if he does that, oh my goodness!
Wow, I mean that'd be unreal. But look, if he believes in himself, yes, go for it. But don't do it if he's got second thoughts. If he's got second thoughts, don't do it. If he has to be 100% confident, and listen, I'll even go and help him for that if I have to. You know what I mean? Because look, I love Crawford. I think he's a lovely guy. Because I got to know him when I trained with him away from the boxing ring, away from boxing, and the guy's he's a diamond. You know what I mean? So if I can help him in any way, I'd love to do that. But look, but if I was him, just enjoy what you've got now, and don't take no risks.
I think you just got to watch the Bivol blueprint, the in and out. I mean, a lot of fighters getting stick now for being runners, Tom and Jerry and whatnot. But stick to what you're good at.
Boots Ennis praised Crawford's efficiency inside the ring, noting that every punch has a clear purpose. Unlike fighters who throw unnecessary shots, Crawford carefully calculates his timing, maximizing both accuracy and impact. This discipline, Ennis argued, reflects Crawford's exceptionally high boxing IQ. By conserving energy and picking his moments, Crawford denies opponents openings to counter and maintains his stamina throughout long fights. Ennis believes that this ability to gradually break down opponents while staying fresh will be a huge factor against an experienced veteran like Canelo, where every small advantage could determine the outcome.
People understand he can box and he's smart.
Yes.
He don't waste no punches, man.
He don't waste no punches.
And he's really smart, man, when it comes to that boxing game. But it was me and I'm training him.
Yeah.
I would have him frustrating Canelo. What I would do with him, I would hit him with some good shots, combination shots, because you know, Canelo got to be set to throw punches.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? If Crawford boxing move, he don't like nobody to boxing move. And that's what I think Crawford is going to do.
Diego Pacheco offered a balanced perspective, admitting he's simply excited to watch two great fighters share the ring. He acknowledged Crawford's sharp technique and defensive skills, which could allow him to edge out a decision if the fight goes the distance. At the same time, he recognized Canelo's knockout power, particularly to the body, which could end the fight if he lands cleanly. Pacheco explained that the matchup comes down to a battle of styles, Crawford's precise combinations and distance control against Canelo's heavy pressure and power punching. Ultimately, he said the outcome depends on which fighter succeeds in imposing their rhythm on the fight.
Canelo versus Crawford fight. How do you see that fight going, and what's your prediction?
That's a very, very good fight. You know, two great fighters. I grew up admiring them my whole life, you know, so I'm excited for that fight. I think Crawford is a hell of a fighter. You know, if it goes the distance, he might be able to get that decision win. But I think if there's a knockout, then it might be Canelo who's getting the knockout win. But I'm ready to watch the fight. You know, I'm going to be a big fan that night, and just be rooting for both guys. You know, they're both great fighters.
Ade Oladipo reflected on Canelo's career, pointing out that while Alvarez remains elite, he is no longer the same unstoppable force he once was. He highlighted the Golovkin rematch in 2018 as the absolute peak version of Canelo, strong, confident, and unmatched in skill. But Oladipo emphasized that this was 7 years ago, and since then Canelo's performances, though still strong, have shown gradual decline. He suggested that sparring with young hungry fighters like Jaron Boots Ennis may be Canelo's way of regaining sharpness that has naturally faded with time. This raises the question, does the current version of Canelo still have enough left to deal with Crawford, who is performing at the height of his powers?
But he fought a very, very good Canelo. I don't think that Crawford is fighting the best Canelo anymore. Again, the Canelo I'm talking about, I mean, second Golovkin fight, I thought was fucking incredible. That was, when was that? Geez, that feels like a long, long time ago. Second Golovkin fight was 2018. So I'm saying peak Canelo, although still very, very good people, peak Canelo for me was 6 years ago. It's a long time, or 5.5 years. That's a long time. In fact, exactly 15th of September. So it'll be to the day 5 years. Have I got them? What was I talking about? Sorry, almost 7 years ago. Jeez, that's a long time ago. Where some might say peak Crawford was Errol. So, shit, I didn't realize how long ago that was. And he's clearly not that same guy anymore. It clearly isn't. He's no longer fighting elite fighters. I mean, unless you're going to say William Skull was elite, Edgar Berlanga, no, Munguia, no, Jamel, no, John Ryder, no, third Golovkin fight, no. So he's no longer fighting the best, but he still is very good, and he's still a top 168 pounder. And I think this is why people are saying it is a 50-50 fight now, because we can see the deterioration in Canelo. Like, say what you want about William Skull. Canelo looked poor in that fight as well. Everyone's like, oh, William Skull ran. Well, Canelo didn't cut off the exits. Canelo wasn't great himself. Canelo's punch output was horrendous. So we can clearly see the deterioration. That said, he is the naturally bigger guy. I just mentioned the fact that Crawford's put on size, but the naturally bigger guy in this weight class is Canelo. That has to count for something.
Regis Prograis strongly dismissed the idea that Crawford's power alone will trouble Canelo. He pointed out that Alvarez has already faced naturally bigger, hard-hitting champions without ever showing real vulnerability. Prograis emphasized Canelo's reputation for having one of the strongest chins in boxing, making him incredibly difficult to hurt. Still, he acknowledged Crawford's tactical brilliance, movement, and ability to adjust as legitimate tools to outbox Canelo. In Prograis' view, Crawford cannot rely on power. If he is to win, it will be through pure skill, strategy, and flawless execution.
You know, I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You got to look at, and then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small. You know, and he can look bigger in. Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. You know, his head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight. Like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave him troubles, Irislan, De Lara, Austin Trout, Floyd, and Bivol, you know, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moved around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that. But I don't know how Crawford is going to respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee, you know. So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, you know, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about great. This might be. I mean, people might kill me for it, but well, not really. But this might be the best Mexican fighter ever. One of them, at least, right? You talk about Canelo and Crawford going up against him. So the only thing they have, but I would say the only thing he has going for him is he's a skillful fighter, and Canelo is old.
Crawford's trainer put a spotlight on conditioning, stressing that stamina will be the key factor in this fight. He argued that if Canelo begins to slow down, Crawford's speed and endurance will allow him to take over the later rounds. Known for raising his intensity as opponents fade, Crawford often punishes rivals who lose even half a step in movement or reflexes. His quick counters and evasive defense could turn fatigue into disaster for Canelo. The trainer's message was clear: at this stage of Canelo's career, maintaining relentless pace and energy against a fighter like Crawford may be one of the toughest challenges he has ever faced.
Watch. And he usually slows down between 6 and 7. You slow down, that's a fucking wrap.
That's what you've been seeing in these last couple fights from him?
I mean, yeah, fuck yeah. I done seen him slow down, going into the later rounds, and I done seen his ass get outboxed.
Brian McIntyre, and I will say this openly, is one of the best trainers in boxing. He absolutely knows his job, and I know he knows his job better than I know his job. So take my observation with a grain of salt. However, sometimes I get these things right, and I think that Brian McIntyre is making a miscalculation. Now, what do I mean? He basically said that one of the biggest advantages that Terence Crawford has over Canelo Alvarez is that Canelo Alvarez slows down, and that he says that after round 6, round 7, that Canelo Alvarez usually starts slowing down, and if he slows down against Terence Crawford, that is going to be a very, very huge mistake, and Terence Crawford is going to be able to take advantage of that. All right. First and foremost, let me say this. If it was the case that Terence Crawford was fighting Canelo Alvarez at 147 pounds, or even at 154 pounds, and Canelo Alvarez started slowing down, that definitely could be very, very big trouble against a guy like Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is an incredible counterpuncher. And if you show him any openings...
Teddy Atlas gave perhaps the most emphatic backing to Crawford. He described him as a complete fighter, disciplined, adaptable, and mentally tough enough to handle anyone, regardless of weight class. Atlas went further, suggesting that Canelo is not the same hungry fighter he once was, and even called him overrated compared to Crawford. He pointed to recent performances as evidence of decline and insisted that Crawford's all-around skill set is simply on another level.
Or you could agree again. It's up to you, whatever. But he's made so much money that the urgency's not there. The fire's not there. At least it wasn't there a week ago. At least I say that. It wasn't there a week ago. Maybe it'll be there now. Maybe he's the kind of guy that, and I get it, that at this point in their career, it has to be a big fight to get up. That Canelo can't get up for these fights. He couldn't get up for that fight. All right. If you want to go down that road, go ahead. But my road is still possible. That he got old, that just doesn't have that fire no more. Oh, my God, I'm going to say this one. That maybe he's a little overrated. I listen, I know he's tremendous. He's tremendous. But could he be a tiny bit overrated? If you look at some of his biggest fights, the fights where you had to be great to win, that you fought great fighters or near great fighters, you can make the argument that he lost the first Triple G.
Jose Vargas Jr., having sparred with Crawford himself, offered a unique insider view. He praised Crawford's sharpness and accuracy but questioned whether his punches carry enough power to trouble someone as durable as Canelo. Vargas reminded fans that Alvarez has already absorbed punishment from naturally larger fighters like Golovkin and Kovalev without folding. However, he admitted that boxing is not just about power. Crawford's timing, consistency, and rhythm-breaking skills can frustrate even the strongest opponents. While Vargas doubts Crawford's power will stop Canelo, he believes Crawford's technical mastery could win him a competitive fight on points.
Bud Crawford, what work is left? What else is going to be done in camp?
All we're doing is putting the final touches. I mean, I've been sparring Ron Ellis. I mean, this guy is a dog, bro. He's been getting me ready. I mean, he's been Canelo's sparring partner. Shout out to my guy Ron, man. He comes, tries to knock me out every single sparring. This guy fights at 68. Big dude, goes southpaw, and hits hard. So I know he fought Benavidez. So he's a veteran, and he's doing veteran tactics in there where he's not letting me rest in the clinch. He's making me work every second of every round. And I got something for Callum. I got something for the whole boxing world. And I feel you're just as good as your preparation. And we've been doing the road work. We've been doing the mountain work. I've been recovering hard. I've been getting my rest. I haven't been drinking no dark sodas, bro.
And that's it for today's breakdown. Stay tuned for more insights next time.